Hello, my UIL team. It's me, Miss H. And it's Christmas break, so I'm visiting Mama H. So this is my old bedroom. Um, I did have on the schedule that we would have 3 lessons while we are out. So this is the first lesson. I don't have my laptop, so I don't have the actual schedule that I made. So I might be going out of order from what's on that paper, but I think we'll be fine. So this is only like the second time I've done something like this. So please be patient with me and I hope it works. I'm going to share my screen with all of you. Yes, I should be sharing my screen. Okay. So I'm going to go in here. So if you can still see me, I don't know, and I'm sorry if it's not a flattering angle. This video, we are going to talk about Liberty Fanfare. So this was a piece written by John Williams. And as always, I will talk about the composer and then I'll talk about the piece. But we have a very special picture here. This is a picture of the Statue of Liberty. She also has a nickname, Lady Liberty. She was a gift from France to the United States. Let me look at my notes. Oh, it doesn't have the date that she was given to the United States, but she was a gift to the United States, and she is one of the first things that immigrants would see because they would come in from the East. So she would be one of the first things I would see. So instead of seeing something scary, they saw somebody that was welcoming. They had a torch, that torch up at the top. It's for, she's lighting the way with truth. She's holding a tablet in her arms. And you can't see it here, but on the actual tablet, it has like, give me your tired, your poor, your wretched souls who want to be free, because in America, we will take care of them. Okay. And then up here at the tippity top, we have this little like half circle with a bunch of instruments in it. I wish I could show you like where I'm pointing at, but I can't do it. So we have some string instruments, some woodwind instruments, some percussion instruments, and some brass instruments. And with the mini lesson from last week's video, we covered instruments, kind of, and we had a game. So if you haven't seen those, go back, find that link. You might have to go to my website to find the link for it. So that way you can play the game called Instrument Crane. So let me pull up this picture. This is Mr. John Williams. John Williams is one of the few composers we're going to talk about in our 10 that we have to learn. He is still alive. Still alive, still kicking, still writing awesome music. Everybody's heard his music. You just don't know that you've heard his music. If you've heard anything from Star Wars, you've heard his music. If you've heard anything from Superman, you've heard his music. What else has he written? Oh, they don't have all of that stuff here. Jurassic Park, you've heard his music. He writes a lot of music. He's pretty popular. The Jaws theme, ba-da, 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 da, 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 from the shark movie Jaws, really old, but a lot of people know the music. He wrote that music. So, John Williams, still alive, was born in New York. So he's actually an American. Whoop. Also one of the few Americans we're going to talk about. So he's contemporary, he's modern, he's current time composer. Um, I have my notes here if you can see me. So he was raised in New York and he was the son of a percussionist. So musicians were in his family. So his parent wouldn't have been that mad if he would have gone into being a musician. Now, his parent played percussion, which means they played something that is hit, shaken, or scraped. John Williams ended up being a composer, so he ended up writing the music. He learned piano when he was very young, and then later he learned how to play trumpet, trombone, and clarinet. So he knew how to play 2 brass instruments, a woodwind instrument, and piano is technically a percussion instrument because you hit the strings. He went to a very fancy school in America for music called Juilliard, super fancy. And he studied piano there and worked with a jazz pianist, so a different type of music called jazz. And I don't have if he stayed there for long, but he has written a lot of music for movies, like I was saying, how he's done Star Wars. Star Wars stuff. I can't think of the Superman one off the top of my head, I'm sorry. So, super famous, still alive, an American, not a very popular thing. And I don't know why. Now, back to the piece. This piece was commissioned, which means somebody said, hey, John Williams, I'm going to give you this money and I need you to write music for this event that I have going on. And the event was the 100th birthday of the Statue of Liberty. They were celebrating her 100th year of being placed on Ellis Island. So it had to be fancy. It's about the Statue of Liberty, so it's got to be patriotic. It's got to sound like American music and be very proud and make everybody proud of their music or proud of their country. So it was written for an orchestra, which we can see up at the top of this poster. It's written for an orchestra, and John Williams actually got to be the conductor. He got to conduct the piece the first time it was ever performed. Oh, yeah, no, that's the notes that I have. So he got to be the conductor for it. And you're going to hear this thing called a fanfare. A fanfare is, let me make sure I have the correct definition, a flourish of sound, usually played by brass instruments. So a fanfare is a big, it's the fancy stuff. Usually it's played by brass instruments. So I'm going to go ahead and play that fanfare for you. So that fanfare, that little bit, it's only been 15 seconds. Really fancy. It's the ta-da! This is really important. You need to listen to what is about to be played for you. Long time ago, kings, queens, emperors, and everybody like that would have had a fanfare when they are ready to say something very important. So the fanfare would go off. And then the king, queen, emperor would have something very important to say. So fanfares, pretty awesome, pretty fancy. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the picture of the music map for us to look at. As you can see over in the corner, we have the giant picture of the Statue of Liberty. And then there are a bunch of little boxes. So in that very first box at the top left, close to the Statue of Liberty's torch, we have the box that is labeled Introduction. So nothing like that really happens again in the piece. So it's not going to be labeled with anything special. So it's just Introduction. And we haven't heard all of it, so you haven't gotten to hear the bell go off. And then we start talking about the form. So those red squares are going to be A, the white squares are going to be B, and the yellow squares are different. So the next letter would be C. Okay? Sorry, I'm writing the answer down for later. So in that very, very, very first box, we have an A. We have this gold little thingy that's swirly as cute. That's called a French horn. We had that in our piece we did last week that I can't remember what it's called. Hold on. Eroica. We had it in Eroica during the B section. Now back to Liberty Fanfare. Oh, I can do that. Cool. We now have a B section. We have a bunch of trumpets and these two little Fs. Those are dynamic markings, those two little Fs. F is loud. 2 Fs is really loud. 3 Fs is super loud. P is soft. 2 Ps is very soft, and 3 Ps is super soft. So you're going to hear, sounds like a B section. It's definitely going to be different. The picture is telling you that it's mostly going to be trumpets that you hear. Then we go back to our A section. It has a different picture from our first one. This A section has a violin, which means it's going to sound like the same music, but it's going to be played by a different instrument. It's going to be played by the violins and the violas and probably the cellos and basses. So probably a good chunk of the string family. And then I'm going to zoom in and it looks really bad. But that is an MF. If there's an M, it means medium. So it's kind of in the middle. So medium loud. We go to our next part. It's B. It's got 2 Fs, which means it's going to be super loud. And it's got a bunch of trumpets, which means we're probably going to mainly be hearing trumpets. Then we have this transition. This is a part that helps us move into a completely new thing. We have the drum, which is called a timpani, and we're moving into the string family, the string instruments. That little greater than sign that you see is called a decrescendo, and I will be drawing things like this later for you in this video. A decrescendo means you are going to start loud and slowly get softer. So you'll hear it. You'll hear that when we get to this part, the music's going to start loud, but then it's going to get soft and move into our C section. Our C section has a couple of repeats. It's going to have strings, but it also tells you woodwinds down at the bottom. Okay. And then we move on. We have another C-section. It's going to have strings again. It's got a couple of repeats, but this time it's using brass. So it's going to be more fancy. And then we have another transition. This is transitioning out of the C-section back to this. But it's still C. But this time, instead of being split up with having woodwinds and then brass do it another time, everybody's doing everything together. And we have C again. And again, everybody is doing the C section all together. And then we have a little bit at the end where brass is going to be super duper loud. Those gold thingies that are kind of like weird circles are called cymbals. And then we have another decrescendo. Back to our A section, where we are going to have French horn and the strings play it together. I'm going to zoom out real quick, because if we look up at the top, the first time they play separately. And then we have our coda. We learned what a coda was. The coda is the fancy thing at the end, so that way we know we are at the end. So we've got a lot of fireworks because, 4th of July, that's an American holiday, and it's only an American holiday. And we set off a bunch of fireworks, so we gotta be fancy with our fireworks. So our coda is gonna have a bunch of things that sound like fireworks. And then the definitely end, okay? And we have a less than sign. This is called a crescendo because it starts small and gets bigger. So it starts soft and slowly gets louder until we get to the exclamation point, which is at the end. So let me go find the listening map that we can use. I hope this sounds good.
Liberty Fanfare by Williams.
we go. So that was our music map. So I'm going to go back to my notes. Dynamics. Okay, so dynamics are the louds and softs of the world. You do 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 do. Yes, that thing exists. All right. So dynamics for soft are going to make 0 sense, but it is called piano. You pronounce it just like the instrument. And for loud, it's forte. Forte. Hey, we know the name Forte, don't we? Don't we know a dragon named Forte because she's really loud? So, if it's Forte, we have a couple of groupings. We can have just regular Forte, which is an F. We can have medium loud, medium Forte, we can have Forte Forte, which is super loud, and fun fact, you can just keep adding more Fs and you just keep adding more supers. Then we also have piano. With piano, we have a P. Medium loud would be, medium piano, MP. If we have 2 Ps, it's super piano or super soft, and you can keep adding Ps. So it looks like this. Okay. That's how they're separated. So this is the soft side, and this is the loud side. Then there are also these things that help you transition between all of the dynamics. This is called a decrescendo. It starts big, which means it's going to start loud, so it starts big, and then it slowly gets smaller. So you start with a big sound, loud sound, and you slowly get to a smaller sound or a softer sound. We also have the opposite, which we don't get to see in Liberty Fanfare until the very end, where we start with a small sound or a soft sound, and we make it into a bigger sound or a loud sound. This is called a crescendo. Okay? So we hear all of that in there. Let's go over the analysis paper. You know that paper that we worked together? I'm going to work together with you in this video. Cool? The title is Liberty Fanfare. Okay, so you're going to write that in the title section at the very top. And if I'm going too fast, you can pause this video. Okay? And the composer is Williams. Okay? Those are the top two spaces. I'm going to give you a chance to fill that in. Okay, I'm going to erase these. If you need it, pause it now or rewind. Tempo. Was it slow or was it fast? To me, that feels slow for what it could be. So go ahead and circle the slow. Did I have a fancy word for the tempo? Did I have a fancy word for the tempo? No. So you're going to leave it blank. Woohoo! Performing group. It was an orchestra. So circle orchestra. Cool. If you need help, it's the one at the top left. I don't know if this will flip it. Top left. Our form was very long, okay? Form was super long. That introduction part, we're not going to worry about it. But we are going to have everything else. Long form. A, B, A, B, C, 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 A. I'm going to keep that on the board for you, or on the screen for you for just a little bit. If you still need it, pause it, but I'm erasing it now. Make sure you have all of that on there. And the very last question, do you like it? And remember, this is an opinion, so we're going to have different opinions. You circle yes or no. And then at the very bottom, you're going to write your name. And then I'll check them when we get back to school. Let me make sure there's nothing else that I need to talk to you about. Oh, I get to sing that song or sing a little bit for you. Or all of this. This is the teacher stuff. I'm going to hide that. That has rhythms you don't know. This has a rhythm you don't know too, but you learn it soon. So the theme for the A section that goes na 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 na. Okay, they have words for it, or that go there. So their words are: Mr. Williams wrote this special piece called Liberty Fanfare, written for a celebration of Our Lady Liberty. Okay. So they wrote that special. Make sure there's nothing else. There's some things on here, but cool. Those will be extra things that we do later. All right. So I am going to call this one done. I will see you next week with another video. Bye.